Welcome to trade recap for August 26th. Today was very neutral coming into it. A higher time frame was very undecisive at the beginning, but I had a very, very, very strong conviction in the trades I took. I'm going to break down why I took them. Make sure you stay to the end. I'm going to tell you all why you could have held all the way down to this main low here if you wanted to. The only reason I didn't is for the reason of consistency rule. But I do believe that this is going to flush all the way down to this main low resistance low, especially this 30-minute intermediate low. But I caught it to this 5-minute. So coming into the day, I was very much tossed up with the fact that we had low resistance on the top side here and low resistance on the bottom side in a way here. What I saw though was on ES, we took out this 2-hour internal high in pre-market. This was already taken out in pre-market, creating an SMT off of this high, showing that we already took that out. So I was leaning bearish already in pre-market before the session started. Also that we just been generating some more liquidity under this low here. But what ended up happening in market open was we came up and we took out the rest of that low resistance on NASDAQ, making it not even important that we had an SMT because we took it out for ourselves on NASDAQ. This up here, I was willing to see this as a draw on liquidity if and only if we generated more liquidity under it. For the point in market that we were at with distribution, I was still viewing this as high resistance. Unless we came up further and generated liquidity at that point, then I could possibly see that as a draw on liquidity. But for me, for the session, I was viewing this as high resistance. So we come and take out all the low resistance, which makes this what? It makes this high resistance liquidity. Okay. Same here on ES. We take out low resistance. That high that is left is high resistance. Okay. So the first trade I took was still a really good trade. Basically what it is we took out this last draw on liquidity with the low resistance liquidity, and then we saw a 2-minute inversion, which was the highest time frame, and I was targeting this 5-minute gap. The flaw in this trade was the idea, or the fact that it wasn't an idea, it was a fact that ES already tapped into this 5-minute fair value gap at the time that we took this 2-minute entry. Okay. The reason why I was convicted further enough to not fade this was because of the idea of the 5-minute was attacking high resistance. Therefore, I wanted to see us flush that 5-minute to the low resistance, which was the overall draw on liquidity. Okay. So that 5-minute held, and what we saw was a resweep, a stop hunt of this high, which once you have high resistance put in, and then you have a resweep, all that makes that resweep is even more high resistance, even more unlikely for price to want to retrieve that area if we see a full reversal from that area. Okay. So once we swept that out, I was like, I still believe fully in this bias because of the higher time frame. Y'all have to understand, yes, it looked very choppy in pre-market, but look at low resistance versus high resistance, because consolidation doesn't just last forever. Okay, so when we consolidate here and we have a full manipulation AMD power 3 on the higher time frame, we can very much expect this to be very high resistant and to see the market want to target other low resistant. Okay, it's telling us a story that, hey, the market is an auction to go lower. We need to fill orders to make that happen. So this high is protected in the way I view the market, and I very highly recommend that you guys view the market versus higher and low resistance. It is a cheat code. So we had this remanipulation leg, and the highest time frame inversion was this 4-minute. I'm going to get rid of this loss real quick so y'all can see it. Was this 4-minute right here, but we also had this 3-minute right here as well. So we inverse the 3-minute with a little sliver there, and instead of waiting for the full 4-minute closure, what I did is I entered on structure being created. I was okay to enter off of just the 3-minute, but we saw us pull back, and then we got a change in state here with a strong closing candle. That's where I entered, and then it was confirmed with this candle on the 4-minute inverse. Okay, right here. And from there, I was completely okay with the trade and letting it hands off. I was considering if we didn't end up inversing that 4-minute to exit early, but I was very confident in the idea of this being high resistance, us wanting to seek these lows and also seek this 15-minute that we opened up. So I had very not quick and unconfirmed trade. We still inversed the 3-minute, had very high resistance and saw structure get created. That's why I entered on this. Sometimes you just got to make conviction plays. The 4-minute was the highest time frame inversion, but there was no point in me waiting for that with the things that I was seeing price tell me. Okay, so what was the management of the trade? We had a 15-minute fair value gap here that was very much the obvious, most immediate draw on liquidity for us to reach. So once we reached that, that's where I went break even on the trade. And then I was targeting this first 5-minute gap. Reason why it is the low of the low resistance run here on the lower time frame. And then we have another low resistance run down here with these relative equal lows and these lows here. This is where I eventually think price is going to go. But I was just targeting this for consistency's sake. I hope that makes sense for everybody. I hope you guys are able to learn something from this. Hope you guys are able to have the same outcome of your trading day as me. But really, if you had to struggle with today and seeing this as a valid entry point, I would very highly recommend to first watch my NQ Futures Blueprint series. There's only 2 episodes out now, but there's going to be a lot more coming out about how to fully break down my model, how I trade, to be a complete beginner, pass your first account, and get your first payouts and create consistency. I would highly recommend you do that. But for now, before we get into all those parts of the series, just look at high resistance and low resistance. Help that to shape your bias. It is going to be very crucial. If you are a beginner, then don't worry about those concepts too far yet. Don't confuse yourself. You need to take a slow, steady approach to learning your edge and the curve that you need to take in the market. So that's it for today. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting for if I'm going to trade or not. We have an all-day event, a news event. I'm not really too familiar with the news event, so I'm going to do more research on it, but I will be on the charts. If I take anything, of course, I'll make another trade recap. But God bless, take care, and peace out.